Amish have developed a distinctive way of preserving fruits that has lasted for generations, blending age-old traditions with practicality. Their methods are closely tied to a respect for nature and a dedication to sustainable living. As we explore the fascinating practices of Amish fruit preservation, you'll uncover techniques that not only extend the shelf life of fruits, but also enhance their natural flavors. Let's begin with something a bit surprising: using salt to preserve fruits. When we think of salt preservation, we usually picture meats or pickles, but the Amish take it further, applying salt to fruits as well. At first, this might sound like it would result in salty fruit, but it's actually a gentle drying process that extracts moisture. No sugar or chemicals are involved. The science behind it is simple yet effective. Without moisture, bacteria can't grow, so the fruit remains safe from spoilage for much longer. The Amish have perfected the art of using just the right amount of salt to draw out moisture without overwhelming the fruit's natural taste. Patience is key, as the process takes time, but the result is fruit that lasts longer and maintains its natural sweetness, all without the need for refrigeration or preservatives. Think of it as a natural way to stock your pantry for the colder months. I once decided to try this method myself. I thought it couldn't be that hard, so I grabbed some apples, added what I thought was just the right amount of salt, and waited. A few days later, I took a bite expecting a sweet, chewy snack. Instead, it was like biting into a salt shaker with a faint hint of apple flavor. Lesson learned: moderation is crucial. But at least I now understand the importance of getting the balance just right. This technique has been used for centuries, particularly in places where refrigeration wasn't an option. The Amish have kept the tradition alive, adapting it to preserve various fruits, such as apples, pears, and even berries. While it's not a widely used method today, it remains incredibly effective and a natural way to preserve fruits without relying on modern technology or additives. It's reassuring to know that something as simple as salt can help preserve a bountiful harvest. Next, let's talk about a method that's even simpler: air drying. Have you ever hung your laundry outside on a sunny day and felt the satisfaction of it drying naturally? The Amish apply this same idea to their fruits, hanging them out in the open air to dry. Fruits like apples, apricots, and pears are transformed into delicious dried snacks with just sunlight and fresh air. It may seem like a basic technique, but it's incredibly effective. Air drying works by preserving the fruit naturally, locking in both flavor and nutrients without the need for complex machinery or added sugar. In fact, studies suggest that sun-dried fruits may even retain more nutrients than those dried in machines. So, not only are the Amish saving energy, but they might also be getting more vitamins from their dried fruits. Definitely a win in my book. I had an idea to try air drying fruits myself one summer. I strung up some makeshift lines in the backyard, hoping to recreate this simple, natural process. I decided to try air drying fruit myself one summer, so I sliced up some apples and set them outside to dry. Living in the suburbs, though, this plan quickly turned into an all-you-can-eat buffet for every bird and squirrel around. I'm not sure if my apples ever dried out or were just stolen. Lesson learned: invest in a better drying system next time. But in all seriousness, this method has been practiced for centuries and continues to thrive in Amish communities. There's something almost poetic about trusting nature to do the work. With a little patience and the right weather, air drying can keep fruit fresh for a long time without any need for preservatives. The best part is that dried fruits have a concentrated sweetness that makes them perfect for snacking, baking, or even adding to trail mix. And unlike my experience with squirrels, you don't have to worry about animals stealing your harvest if you're more careful. Now, let's take a look at another Amish preservation method: root cellars. These underground storage spaces aren't just for potatoes. The Amish also store fruits like apples and pears in them. Root cellars are cool, dark, and naturally insulated, making them perfect for keeping produce fresh for months. No electricity required. In fact, apples stored in a well-maintained root cellar can stay fresh for up to 6 months, which is way longer than the apples in my fridge that turn mushy after 2 weeks. It's like a secret Amish trick for keeping your groceries good for longer. Just imagine pulling out fresh, crisp apples in February, still from the fall harvest. I once tried to build my own mini root cellar in the backyard. It worked for a while, but I forgot about the apples I stored there, and by the time I remembered, they had turned into a science experiment. Pro tip: label what you store and check it more than once a season. Rookie mistake. But the reason this method works so well is that the Earth's natural insulation keeps things cool without freezing, so the fruits maintain their flavor and texture. And the best part? It's all done without any chemicals, making it a simple, sustainable way to store fruit. Next, let's explore vinegar curing. Who knew vinegar could do so much more than just dress a salad? The Amish use natural vinegar to preserve fruits, especially berries, giving them a unique flavor and helping them stay fresh for longer. It's a game changer in fruit preservation, turning fresh fruit into tangy treats without any sugar. Vinegar isn't just for taste. It has natural antibacterial properties. By creating an acidic environment, it helps prevent spoilage and keeps bacteria at bay, almost like a little bodyguard for your fruit. So not only do you get a tangy snack, but you also get some added protection from harmful microbes. I decided to give vinegar curing a try myself last summer with some leftover strawberries. I thought I was being adventurous, but let's just say my vinegar to strawberry ratio was off. Instead of a sweet and tangy delight, I ended up with something much more vinegar forward than I intended. It was definitely a learning experience, but I'm one step closer to mastering this method. I ended up with something that resembled a failed science experiment. My taste buds were definitely in for a shock, but it did make for a good laugh at the dinner table. This vinegar curing method not only preserves fruits, but also adds a unique flavor twist. You could even take it a step further by mixing in herbs or spices for a gourmet touch. The only product we'll ever endorse on our channel is a book by Claude Davis, a seasoned prepper, titled 126 Superfoods and Preservation Methods from Crisis Times, covering techniques from the Great Depression and wartime that are hard to find anywhere else. We decided to promote his book because we are the last generation that can pass on these valuable preservation methods and superfoods to future generations. It would be a tragedy for this knowledge of nutrient-rich foods and survival methods to disappear. You can also find a book on herbal remedies by Nicole Alon on their store. If you're watching this on TV, check out our channel, Frugal Solutions, on your phone or tablet, and find the books by clicking the link in our channel description or any of our other videos. Now imagine serving a stunning bowl of vinegar-cured berries at a summer get-together. Just be ready for some raised eyebrows and lots of questions about what's in it. You might want to keep a straight face and say, "Just a little vinegar magic." It's incredible how such a simple ingredient can create such effective and delicious results. This Amish method is a perfect reminder that the best solutions are often found in nature, right in our own kitchens. After all, who needs modern preservatives when you have vinegar working for you? Plus, this technique is so easy that even someone new to cooking can give it a try. Just be sure to get the ratios right. Next, let's dive into the sweet world of honey. While most people think of honey as just something to sweeten tea or drizzle over biscuits, the Amish have long known it's also a natural preservative for fruits. Imagine biting into a piece of fruit that's absorbed all that natural sweetness while still being shelf-stable. That's what I call a treat. The process is simple. Immerse the fruit in honey, which forms a sugary barrier to prevent spoilage, all without any chemicals. Here's an interesting tidbit. Honey has been used for thousands of years as a preservative. Archaeologists have even found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are over 3,000 years old and still perfectly safe to eat. Talk about a snack fit for a pharaoh. It's as if honey is nature's way of saying, "I'll never go bad. Just keep me in a cool, dark place, and I'm good to go." I decided to try preserving some fresh berries in honey after learning about this ancient method. I got all excited, mixed the berries with honey, and then forgot about them for a few days in the back of my fridge. When I finally remembered and opened the jar, the sweet aroma was like an invitation. My taste buds threw a little party right then and there. But let's just say, after indulging in that delicious jar of honey-soaked fruit, I had to deal with some serious guilt for finishing it all in one sitting. The best thing about using honey is that it not only preserves fruit, but also adds a lovely sweetness that enhances even the most basic piece of fruit. Want to impress your guests at a gathering? Try serving honey-preserved fruits on a cheese platter and watch their faces light up with surprise and delight. Just be careful not to reveal your secret too soon. It's way more fun watching them wonder how you achieve such a delicious treat. While honey might not always be the first preservation method people think of, it's certainly one of the most natural and effective. This natural sweetener has been a cornerstone of Amish kitchens for generations, showcasing how simple ingredients can lead to extraordinary results. As we continue exploring the art of fruit preservation, we'll discover even more fascinating techniques that are not only practical, but full of charm and character. Now let's dive into the world of fermentation. This method may sound a bit unusual, but it's actually a clever and delicious way the Amish preserve their fruits. Instead of letting fruit sit around and spoil, they initiate a natural fermentation process that keeps the fruit fresh and flavorful. During fermentation, wild yeast and bacteria convert the sugars in the fruit into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This not only prevents spoilage, but also imparts a distinct, tangy flavor to the fruit. It's like a little celebration in a jar, with the fruit taking center stage. What makes fermentation even more fascinating is its health benefits. This process creates probiotics, which are great for gut health. So, imagine enjoying a sweet and tangy fruit treat while giving your digestive system a little boost. That's what I call a win-win. These days, fermented foods and drinks are gaining popularity due to their health benefits. But the Amish have been ahead of the curve, using this method long before it became a modern health trend. I once decided to try fermenting some cherries myself. I followed a simple recipe and let them bubble away in their jar for a few days. When I finally opened it, the effervescence was a pleasant surprise, and the taste was a revelation. It was sweet, sour, and just a little zesty, a flavor explosion that made my taste buds come alive. Just a heads up though, if you serve this at a gathering, be prepared to explain why your fruit salad is a bit fizzy. The confused looks are totally worth it when everyone gets a taste of those bubbly, flavorful bites. Fermentation is one of those ancient techniques that remind us just how resourceful and inventive people can be. The Amish have been perfecting this art for generations, and it's easy to see why it has stood the test of time. The Amish have an incredible knack for transforming simple fruits into something truly extraordinary. As they preserve their fruits, the flavors intensify and deepen, creating a preservation method that blends both tradition and innovation. One of their unique techniques is beeswax sealing, dipping fresh fruits like pears and apples into melted beeswax to form a protective layer. It's like giving your fruit a little armor, shielding it from air and preventing decay. This natural approach not only keeps the fruit fresh, but also allows it to breathe without the suffocating effect of plastic or synthetic coatings. It's like giving your produce the royal treatment. Here's a fascinating fact. Beeswax can keep fruit fresh for months. Yes, months. That's a game changer compared to the quick spoilage we often see with store-bought fruit. If you've ever bought an apple, only for it to turn mushy within a few days, you'll definitely appreciate the genius of this method. Imagine pulling out a perfectly preserved pear in the middle of winter, and it tastes just as fresh as the day you sealed it. It's like having a little taste of summer, even when snow is piling up outside. I decided to try beeswax sealing myself after hearing glowing reviews from a friend who's been preserving food Amish style for years. Let me tell you, I had grand visions of perfectly sealed apples. But things got a little messy. I ended up spilling melted beeswax all over my kitchen counter. The smell, however, was wonderful, filling the air with a sweet honey scent for days. I secretly loved it, though my husband may have started to wonder if we had opened a bakery instead of just living in a home. Using beeswax isn't just a preservation method, it's also a sustainable choice. While many commercial fruits are coated with synthetic materials, beeswax offers a natural alternative that aligns with the Amish philosophy of using what nature provides. Plus, it's a great way to support local beekeepers and help maintain these essential pollinators. So, not only are you preserving your fruits, but you're also doing something good for both your pantry and the planet. Now let's talk about another fascinating preservation method that might make you pause. ash preservation. Yes, you read that right. Some Amish communities pack their fruits in wood ash. This technique might seem unusual at first, but there's clever science behind it. The alkaline nature of ash acts as a barrier, preventing the growth of bacteria and ensuring the fruit remains safe and fresh. It's like creating a little fortress for your apples, pears, or any other fruit you're preserving. It's truly remarkable how the Amish have harnessed nature's resources in such inventive ways. Whether it's beeswax, ash, or other methods, they've mastered the art of keeping their harvests fresh and flavorful without relying on modern technology or chemicals. While many people may view ash preservation as an outdated practice, it was actually once used not only for preserving fruits, but also for eggs and vegetables. The Amish have kept this ancient method alive, demonstrating that sometimes the best solutions come from the wisdom of our ancestors. So, the next time you see a dusty jar of ash in someone's pantry, don't be too quick to dismiss it. I'll admit, when I first heard about ash preservation, I was skeptical. Ash? Really? But my curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to give it a try. I used some plums I had on hand, and let's just say I learned a valuable lesson. Don't overdo it with the ash. My plums ended up looking like they had gone on a rugged camping trip, covered in a fine dusting of ash. I took a bite, half expecting it to be gritty, but to my surprise, they tasted just fine. I guess I have my great-great-grandparents to thank for this little preservation tip. For those of you concerned about how they look, don't worry. The fruits may seem like they've just emerged from a coal mine, but once you wash them off, they're good as new. And it makes for a fantastic conversation starter. Imagine hosting a gathering and serving some of your ash-preserved fruits. Your guests will be intrigued, maybe a little confused, but surely impressed. Is this a new trend? They might ask. You could just reply with a grin, "Oh, I like to keep things rustic." Now let's move on to a method that blends simplicity with a touch of ingenuity, using clay pots filled with water for fruit preservation. The Amish have long used this technique, proving you don't need fancy refrigeration to keep your fruits fresh. Here's how it works. As the water evaporates from the pots, it creates a cooling effect, which slows down spoilage. It's like having a natural air conditioning system, but without the energy bill. And get this isn't just an Amish trick. Various cultures have used it for centuries. It's amazing how such a simple method can be so effective. Picture it. In the middle of summer, instead of opening the fridge, you have a clay pot doing all the hard work for you. I remember trying this out one hot afternoon when I had a bunch of overripe peaches sitting on my counter. I figured, why not give them a cool retreat? I filled a couple of clay pots with water and set them outside. It worked like a charm. Those peaches stayed crisp for days, and I felt like a culinary genius. The neighbors probably thought I was starting a new trend, and I couldn't resist bragging about my cool setup. Now you might be wondering about its practicality. Does it really work? Trust me, when I left my fruit out for a few days, it definitely fared better than those left directly in the sun. Plus, there's something incredibly satisfying about using a technique that goes back to the days before refrigeration. It's like stepping back in time, channeling your inner homesteader while sipping lemonade. Just be careful with those pots. They can get heavy when filled with water. I once tried to show off by carrying them to the kitchen, but gravity had other plans. Water splashed everywhere, and my dramatic moment quickly turned into a great laugh. Next up is a preservation method that might make you raise an eyebrow: lard sealing. The Amish have been using this age-old technique to keep their fruits fresh, and while it may sound strange, it's surprisingly effective. By encasing fruits like apples and pears in lard, they create a barrier that prevents oxygen from reaching the fruit, which is the main culprit behind spoilage. It's like giving your fruit a cozy little sleeping bag for the winter. What's even more impressive is that lard-sealed fruits can last for several months. Imagine rummaging through your pantry in January and finding a perfectly preserved apple waiting for you. It's like having a slice of summer in the middle of winter. I remember the first time I tried this method. I was both skeptical and curious, so I sealed some apple slices in lard. I honestly thought it would end in disaster. But to my surprise, the apples tasted just fine, proving that sometimes the simplest methods can yield the best results. I just had to remind myself to keep them separate from the cooking grease. Now, lard may not be the most glamorous ingredient, but it has been used for food preservation for centuries. Historically, people turn to it because it's a natural substance, free from the preservatives commonly found in today's store-bought foods. I like to think of it as a vintage preservation method, back to basics, if you will. Plus, it's pretty cool knowing you're preserving a tradition that stood the test of time. Here's an interesting fact. The practice of lard sealing wasn't limited to fruits. It was once commonly used for meats and other perishable foods. But let's be honest, nobody wants an apple-flavored bacon mishap. So, when preserving fruits, it's essential to clearly label your jars. The last thing you want is an unexpected flavor when you're craving a sweet snack. For those who might be hesitant about using lard, I get it. The idea of sealing fruit in fat might not sound appetizing. But when you think about it, it's simply using what's available. The Amish are masters of resourcefulness, and this method reflects that beautifully. It also offers a fun way to engage with food, reminding us all that there's history behind what we eat. Next, let's explore the aromatic world of spice preservation. The Amish often incorporate various spices to help extend the shelf life of their fruits. This technique isn't just about adding flavor. It's also about harnessing the natural antibacterial and antifungal properties of certain spices. For example, cloves, cinnamon, and nutmeg are favorites. These spices not only enhance the taste, but also form a natural protective barrier against spoilage. Here's a fun fact. Spices like cinnamon have been shown to inhibit the growth of certain bacteria. When the Amish sprinkle these spices over their fruits, they're essentially creating a natural shield. I tried this with a batch of peaches once, adding a dash of cinnamon and nutmeg. The result? A delightful mix of flavors that made my kitchen smell like a cozy bakery. Using spices in this way ties back to the Amish tradition of utilizing what's around them. It's not just preservation. It's a celebration of nature's tastes while keeping fruits safe. Honestly, who wouldn't want their fruit to taste like a warm, spiced treat? Now, let's talk about pressure canning, another clever way the Amish preserve fruits, especially soft ones like berries and peaches. This method involves placing fruits in jars, adding a bit of water or syrup, then sealing them tightly before cooking under high pressure. The heat and pressure effectively kill off bacteria, allowing the fruits to be safely stored for long periods without refrigeration or preservatives. Did you know that pressure canning can keep fruits fresh for several years? It's like time travel for your taste buds. I once tried canning peaches, and although the process was a bit messy, the taste of those sweet, sun-ripened peaches in the middle of winter was totally worth the effort. Just remember to label your jars, or you might end up opening something unexpected. This method not only locks in flavor, but also preserves the nutritional value of the fruit. It's a great way to ensure you can enjoy a taste of summer long after the last leaf has fallen. Plus, there's something immensely satisfying about hearing that pop sound when you open a sealed jar. It's nature's way of saying, "You did good." In a world filled with convenience foods and quick fixes, the Amish preservation methods remind us of the beauty of simplicity and tradition. By using nature's resources and employing creative techniques, they ensure that delicious fruits can be enjoyed long after harvest. Whether you're inspired to try your hand at honey-preserved berries or curious about the wonders of fermentation, these age-old methods offer a tasty glimpse into the past and a deeper connection to the seasons. So, the next time you enjoy a preserved fruit, remember, it's not just a snack, it's a piece of Amish wisdom.